Alrighty, so here we are, everybody. My name is Keaton Weiss here with my co-host Russell Dobular,
Hello.
and we are here with the team from the No One Wants to Work Facebook group. It is a pleasure to invite back to the show our returning champion, Joey Holz.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Excellent. We also have Phillip Madison here. Say hello, Phillip.
How's it going?
All right, we got Angela Lee Cleary.
Yep.
We are, and of course,
Our computer maven.
right, the OG, the founder of No One Wants to Work, John Rickmon, over there
Charmed,
under your
I'm
tent
sure.
there. Yeah, exactly. So
The reluctant leader.
So this is just going to be a fun little roundtable discussion here, sort of an informal chat. John, first question, why don't you start us off, because you founded this group called No One Wants to Work earlier this year, and as Joey predicted, you guys are now celebrating 15,000 members as we do this little roundtable recording here. So what made you decide to start this group?
I've been a affordable housing advocate for a long time. In my real job, I'm a real estate broker, and I spend a lot of time on Facebook, have a lot of boomer and post-boomer groups that I frequent, as well as excuse me, several bartending and server meme pages. Basically, no one wants to work, but it's a bunch of servers complaining about working in a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would see tons of posts in those groups, and I'm kind of a tag group aficionado, and I've started dozens of them, and none of them have ever really had the traction that this one has. And I started it mainly to troll the people who were complaining that the dining room of our Arby's on Fairfield Avenue was closed and that no one wants to work. And I kept seeing it all the time. There was no data. I mean, there was zero data to back up the fact that, quote, no one wants to work. And so I started the tag group as a way to troll and lampoon the boomers decrying that they couldn't get service in a restaurant after they had told servers if they didn't get paid enough, they should quit. And then they quit, and then they couldn't get service. And so they started getting really angry about that. And so I would tag No One Wants to Work. And at first it was a public group. And that was a nightmare because about 40% of the people that joined, they thought it was seriously a group where they could bitch that the dining room of their Arby's was closed.
The glory days.
And so I was, as fast as I could sign people up, I was having to block people and delete people and all of this. And that's when I started to scale the administration of the group, and then I switched it to private. And as I would get several thousand, and really it's Joey gets a lot of the credit for pushing the group as far as it did, because the group itself probably would not have gone viral.
It was a beast. Rickmon admitted.
Yeah, and so
without me.
No, well, I mean, truly, Joey, the coverage to and hat tip to Due Dissidents and, a long list of others. I mean, as a result now, I had to scale in about half a dozen admins just to handle how rapidly the growth has accelerated.
Hey, what can I say? We're job creators.
Yeah, jobs that don't pay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the due distance bump.
Right, exactly. But no, I mean, I absolutely love it. I love the group. I've been a member of it for, Joey, since we interviewed you. So did you find out about the group just through your studies when you were doing your viral labor shortage experiment there, or how did you come across them?
So I've seen him tagged in a couple of posts. My buddy Eddie Bricker, he runs at a record shop. He prints records now. He's got like his dream job. He was in records, now he prints records. He's living in New Orleans. So he would tag the group sometimes in his posts. When my post went viral, he is part of the reason it did. He's like, oh, we're gonna cross post over to here. And I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, you should totally join this group. I'm like, I'm joining the group. So I joined the group. And then, 24 hours later, the viral thing has gone on, and I'm in there talking to people in the chat, and John's like, well, you want to be an admin? I'm like, okay. And then we've been just pretty much an online thing.
Yeah, and just the impact of Joey's experiment was, a typical morning. I would wake up after sleeping like a baby. You know what that means, right? That's when you wake up at 2 a.m. screaming and you shit yourself. So my typical time to wake up was 3 or 4 in the morning. And before Joey came along, I would have, 15 requests, 20 requests. And then that one morning I got up and there were 89 requests. And I was like, there's got to be something going on here, and that's sort of how I found out about the Joey Holz experiment. I started digging a little bit further, and then I saw the link on the page. And then, Joey was nice enough to mention the group, like in fairness, he probably didn't edit the story, but in the insider story that kind of launched all of this, it was Insider, right, Joey? That was really the first big one.
Yeah, Business Insider is the first article that blew up, and that's when the other things started happening. I talked to 1 or 2 like newscasters about things, but it all like that week, Business Insider hit, then the phone started ringing, and I totally gave you guys credit in the Business Insider thing for, that's when I felt that it had gone somewhere, and that's how I found out about the machine pun Kelly, not machine gun Kelly thing, and started finding out that I was on Reddit and all the other spots too. But
one of our admins said we trauma bonded with Joey.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
the group
I
trauma bonded with Joey.
So just to bookend that, the point about the Insider article was when you open that article, the group is mentioned in the first couple of sentences.
Yeah,
and that's where all the influx of new members really started from.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks. A lot.
And people were really into seeking like authoritarianism. They like wanted to like fuck with the admins, like get clout and stuff.
How do you mean?
Just be argumentative and whatnot, like scrutinize everything you do. Oh God, they tore Christina up. So
some of that was like people trying to report people either for nonsense, something. And my whole attitude towards that is if you're gonna if you're reporting people, you need to be blocked.
Yeah.
That's I'm with you.
You can't handle your own shit, then you got to be blocked.
I'm with you.
It's funny.
That's what I keep telling Keaton, but he's afraid these people are going to report us to Facebook.
We just started our valid. We just started our own group, and one of the reasons why I didn't want to start a group, even though I knew it was good for the podcast project to start a group, is exactly because of this, because of the headaches, because of people reporting people for bullying and hate speech, this and that, harassment. Somebody complained about harassment the other day. I think it was a meme of like Kamala Harris laughing next to a hyena laughing, and that was harassment of some kind.
It's a microcosm of the problems of society at large. It's like people are just like infighting and just people would rather fuck with drama and believe lies. Like politics is just like a perception of reality, and like I don't know.
My favorite is when you get people who say, moderator, I don't feel safe with some of the people in this room. I grew up with people who would throw you through a plate glass window if you said the wrong thing. So when I see things like that, I'm just like, you don't know what it is to feel unsafe around somebody.
Yeah.
Unless the person's going to reach through the webcam and grab you by the throat, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, we've really tried to the sense of community that we've started building as a group and as admins and what we do and don't we try and use inclusive speech and encourage people to treat each other the way they should treat each other in a nice way, while also saying
it's not okay to be a dumbass.
Here are the rules. Read them. Read the things you're about to say, and if it looks like something that's going to get you Facebook zucked, or if it's not adding something positive or helpful, then you probably shouldn't fucking say it.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the stuff that you guys have had on the group, because, you know, like, I'm a member of a million different, like, left political groups, because that's how we promote a lot of our content. But, like, the most relevant stuff I tend to find in your group. And I love when people post like a text exchange between a worker and a boss. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen a ton of those come your way, where, like, you know, whatever, Tony, gets a text from his boss. Hey, you know, Kara called out. We're going to need you to come in tomorrow. And he's like, well, no, I requested off a few weeks ago. You had this as my day off. I can't come in. And then they're like, well, you have to be a team player. See you tomorrow. And then Tony texts back, you know, well, eat shit. You know, I'm not coming in. Fuck you. I quit. You know, and I find there's a big story now where like that kind of stuff is happening more and more, and we get to see all that happen on the walls of your group, which I think is fantastic. You know, I mean, this is like, and I was kind of on this page back in May, June, how, like, you know, when COVID first hit a year and a half ago, there were a lot in like progressive circles saying we need a general strike now. Now is the time for labor to pounce. Now is when labor has more leverage than it's had in a while, and more than it will probably ever have in for many years to come. And we didn't see an organized general strike, but we did start to see, in the form of like lagging jobs numbers, slower reopenings, sort of, you know, these like petulant signs in windows saying we're sorry that we don't have everything you want, but no one wants to work, so bear with us. You know, we're starting to see a sort of de facto general strike take place. It's not organized, as well as, like, you know, committed Marxists would like to see it organized, but it is happening. It is happening. And the cool thing about your group page is that you could see all these people who don't even know each other just sort of come together and support each other in their sort of, you know, united, if uncoordinated, efforts to, you know, tell their bosses to fuck off until they pay them more and treat them right.
Our admins are all, I think we all kind of live in a bubble of punk rock and rock and roll and, you know, all the things that go with that. And so we're very used to like anarchist concepts and forms of mutual aid. And I think what changed is the group went from being just very much like pissed off fucking service industry people fucking bitching about shit in real time to, you know, a lot of white collar workers. And a lot of that was timing, because of like when federal unemployment ended, people had to go back to work. Well, everybody has to go back to work. What the fuck are they saying this? No one wants to fucking work.
Yeah. And then also when we're our community that we're building in here, and what's started to happen in a lot of the posts that we're getting, is that we're providing support for each other. Some of my days since all this has happened, when there's been like too much and it's overwhelming, like you guys have come together to support me, or, you know, my grandma has joined the group as the group grandma, and she shared her story about, you know, she's
Christina,
and she's still working. You know, she finally doesn't have to work anymore, but like she needs to be able to, because Social Security doesn't cover her needs. Like, she has $20 left over after her rent in Key West, and it's unsustainable. She was good at saving, so she's got a little bit of a cushion, but it's just not right. Like, no one should have to continue working until they die. Like, things got to change. And having a place where we all share these feelings, and we're all like together and able to get out the frustrations and provide this sense of community and family that a lot of us, you know, we're told we're supposed to get out of our jobs that we never did, or even like, you know, a lot of my family members are gone, my grandma, my sisters, but like a lot of my real like everyday support comes from the no one wants to work group.
People put their hearts in their jobs and they get treated like shit and they're sick of it. And yeah, they're welcome. And it's no one wants to work is a safe space. It's like Glassdoor for reprobates.
So if I could, that's brilliant. If I could touch on what Joey, this is really like a hot button for me. And I want to give you an example from my business using data points of where this precipice of a legitimate general strike is coming from. Okay. And these are simple numbers.
3 years ago, people didn't know what general strike was.
Right.
Let's talk about what a $15 an hour job looks like in relation to housing insecurity and housing inequity. And let's say the $15 an hour job that we're talking about, that you get 40 hours. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you probably won't, but just for the sake of erring on the high side with this data,
we'll
40 hours a week, $15 an hour, $600 a week. Okay. Multiply by 4. That's $2,400 per month gross income. And in the realm of what's considered housing insecure, approximately 33% of your income, and no more than that, it should be less, but on the very high end, 33% of your income is supposed to be allotted to either a rent or a mortgage payment. So if we take 1/3 of 2,400, we get a number like $800 a month. And I want you to tell me where you can live right now for $800 a month. The saddest part about this data is Florida's minimum wage is currently less than half of that $15 an hour. So if you take a job for $7.25 an hour and get paid full time, you have $400.
We did go in, right?
That's a fake. That's phased in, but it's still $2.13 an hour for servers. Okay, so let's
It'll
average
be 10 in a few months.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So even at $10 an hour, right? And that's a good point, Joey. Even at $10 an hour, that's 50% less than the $15 an hour. 50% less of that $800 is about $600, $600 a month. And that's your mortgage and rent payment. That's what you can afford on these jobs. And when you start to threaten people with the fact that they're going to be on the street, okay, it'll motivate people to do all kinds of things, like join our Facebook group, as an example.
And with the cost of food skyrocketing right now, I mean, last year it was like $6.47 for a family of 4 for a month, and now it's like $8.95 or something. That's a loose, but that's very close to what it was. You know, it's
it's
going to get real.
Apparently, you're not following Stephanie Rule on MSNBC, because according to her, inflation is not a problem for regular people.
Oh yeah, no, I
there
heard that.
are people that are fucking doing good right now, man.
She says it's great for us because we have savings and exploding demand, and it's all and people have money in the stock market. 50% of people have money in stocks, and
there's poor people, there's low income, there's middle class, and then there's probably 5 or 6 classes of people, and
I'll
people who are
Stephanie
used
Rule
to
does not live on Park Avenue, and she's worked her butt off. So if
I'm
knows,
sure she can eat.
If anyone has her finger on the pulse,
the problem with
Stephanie Rule.
Like from 500,000 a year to 5,000 a year and everything in between, we're on this same small little tiny sliver of this pie, like compared to where the wealth actually sits. Like
sure,
these people that are we're all poor. If you make less than $1 million a year, we are like the sobbing
$35 right now. If you were making $35 right now with how things are and the cost of everything, that's discounting the cost of food going up. But if you made $35 an hour right now, that would be a decent minimum wage right now.
Maybe.
That's right. What we're
maybe, yeah. If everybody had health care, and there was.
Hey, let's Lara, thanks for tuning in. Lara, sorry.
So this is Lara Hodge. Let me just introduce Lara, because Lara Lara is a friend of the show, and she is also one of our Patreon supporters here at Due Dissidence, and I grant Patreon supporters call-in access to most of these live streams. And so that's Lara Hodge, and Lara Hodge is also a candidate for Congress in Arizona. So, Lara, where'd you go, Lara?
Right here.
All right, there you are. Hold on. There you go.
I normally do this from my office, so I apologize for the blank wall. I'm at home, and I was trying to do it outside, but there's a bunch of construction happening, so I tried. But relevant to what you guys were just talking about, we moved to Arizona 2 years ago, and or a little over that, and signed a 2-year lease for a stupid amount of money to be where we wanted to be. And when that lease ended, our landlord raised our rent 20%.
That is happening everywhere, and I don't know if you were here when we first started. What? I'm sorry. What?
No, you're fine. Sorry.
Okay. No. I don't know if you were here for the very beginning or not. But what I do for a living is that I'm a real estate broker, and I kind of advocate for affordable housing and work with inmates, prisoners, and that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
And so I was reading a New York Times article earlier today about the Austin market, and it's spoken a lot of national data. And the one that, and I'm not exaggerating, that put goosebumps on my skin was that in 1990, when the baby boomers were coming of age, total equity in the United States housing market in that generation was around 33%. So in other words, 33% of all home equity was owned by the baby boomers in 1990, which is roughly generationally where we are with millennials right now.
Okay.
In terms of the date. Okay.
Sure.
And so today, the percentage of home equity owned by millennials is 4%.
Wow.
I believe that. One of the reasons, so we are trying to buy a house right now because of this, right? So I'm going to be, probably TMI with numbers, but it's easy to be, just tell you, what we're doing. So our rent was $2,200 when we moved in. It's an expensive house in a really expensive school district in Chandler. We wanted to rent when we first moved here to have an idea where we're at. So, okay, fine. So then she raised our rent to $2,700 a month. And we're like, this house isn't worth that. That's not worth our time. So we've been trying to buy a house, and in the middle of the pandemic, we had some late payments on some stuff almost a year ago now, and our credit scores took a dive. They're not bad. I mean, they're not horrible or anything, but they're not perfect. Nobody's are right now because of what happened. And we found a house that we love, and the mortgage on it would be $1,900, and we can't get all the lenders are saying, sorry, you can't afford $1,900 a month mortgage, so you're gonna have to continue to pay a $2,700 a month rent payment.
And how do they determine that you can't afford that? Is back to that ratio that I was giving earlier,
right?
Where if your gross income is not 4 times your rent, you are housing insecure in the United States right now.
Yeah.
And look around you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to find too many people that make 4 times their mortgage payment or rent.
Those are the people that are doing good, though, Rickmon.
They are.
We're not even doing good. Like, my husband actually does make enough money that I get a VA, so I don't have the same.
I was thinking more of homeowners in that, or like people that have that, people that have that.
But I mean, my husband makes that $35 an hour you were talking about, and we both lost our jobs at the beginning of the pandemic.
That's a professional wage right now.
Right, exactly, and it's enough to qualify for the loan. But our scores took a hit in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah,
and they're inching back up. Everybody said, right? But I mean, you can see that was 12 months ago. It's inching back up, and the lenders are just like, no, our computer algorithm says sorry. Like, this seems like, can we get a human to make this judgment?
Yeah, they automated the wrong jobs in the 80s, man.
They're blaming the resources problems on robots. They're blaming the housing problems on robots. It's like, these are things that require human interaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's exactly
there's a lot.
What's that?
What did
Phil?
you say, Phil?
if I'm not mistaken, this was predicted by Marshall McLuhan probably like 60 or 50 something 60 years ago. But this is exactly the type of thing the Unabomber was bombing against.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it
They
is.
went drugs.
I'm not endorsing bombing, but I'm just saying, read that manifesto. Yeah, well, yep, check.
This is not the Mother Underground.
Well, wait.
Yeah, no, like people have been afraid of this type of stuff for years. It's in all our sci-fi. It's not all sci-fi anymore. It's like it's all like these things. You know, we watch these movies about the impending zombie apocalypse and stuff. That's way less reality than the things that the computers and robots already control,
Sure.
and the Facebook algorithm that promotes, you know, bullying, the algorithm which is stopping all of these employers that can't find anyone to work for them from getting qualified applicants in their inbox. Like,
the algorithm weeds out stuff. It's just like, okay, can we get algorithms are great for like base level stuff, but then can you take everything that the algorithm weeded out and put some human eyes on it before you start it? Like,
we all need to be treated as individuals, and everybody deserves to have their individual situation looked at. You know, like I said, you know, because in the 80s we corporatized. You know, after everything was able to be commercialized, we got really corporatized and automated. But you know, I was reading an article today about jobs that just we can live without, and like insurance agents, like you can fucking turn insurance into a fucking algorithm. Like we can probably turn the government into an algorithm. The government has a lot of unnecessary jobs. There's just a lot of waste, and people are too busy fucking fighting with each other instead of solving problems. But the Zenio kids, these kids, they aren't putting up with shit, and they're making apps for everything. So who knows,
Let's just
here come the dogs. I'm at Rickmon's house.
My opinion on government, waste and extra jobs and whatever is, I have a libertarian streak. I'm a leftist. I'm running as a Republican, but I'm running, under the libertarian umbrella. The thing that kills me about the classic libertarians, though, is all of the things they complain about, the government having control over. They then turn around and immediately submit those same controls to corporations. And it blows my mind. We
need the government to
not quite be so involved in our interactions.
So it needs to perform the business of infrastructure. It needs to be an efficient and transparent bureaucracy that takes care of roads and making sure. And I get the libertarian thing. I'm personally like fully for universal basic everything. No,
that was only part of what I was getting at with that is I think
and kudos as a woman, because not a lot of women, will say that. I am personally not a libertarian.
Sure. No, I'm a socialist. I'm a libertarian socialist is my actual political compass.
I feel you, girl.
Okay.
But I'm running as a libertarian, in Arizona, right? That's what.
Yeah, I get it.
I have enough libertarian streak to to make it work. But
you have a boot on your head?
No, I haven't put headphones. But I think if we took all of the things that we have made illegal for people to do and just stop it.
Yeah, prohibition.
All of the government's energy and focus it on regulating corporations.
Yes, exactly.
Like, get out of my life. Don't tell me what to do with my body, but make sure where I'm going to work and where I'm getting my food is safe and efficient.
And that corporations are paying taxes.
Right.
That's my bottom line. That's all.
So let me jump in here just real quick, based on comments earlier that you made, Lara. Lara.
It's Lara.
Sorry.
All right, it's tough.
Okay, Lara. Comments that Lara made, that Joey made, and Angela also made. in my real estate practice, there are two things that we can focus on. One is the practices of real estate, how we do things, right? How do you fill out a contract? That's a great example. And then there's principles of real estate. Why do we do things? Why are things like they are? And that was always what I was attracted to. The why of your experience with trying to qualify for a mortgage right now. The why is there not a person on the other end of the line when I call?
Sure.
Why of what Dr. Madison said, that is what the Unabomber railed against. There is one company, one specific entity responsible for all of that.
Right.
And you can write this down and you should check it out. They are called Core Logic.
Okay.
And Core Logic around 2014 to 15, you probably remember seeing something about the way your credit is going to be managed is changing.
Sure.
Core Logic took over not only all four. So before 2014 and 15, if you were late on your power bill, it didn't show up on your credit. If you didn't pay a lease to a private landlord, it wouldn't show up on your credit.
Can I
Core Logic made. Go ahead.
I actually used to own a property management company, so I'm really well versed. I mean, I don't know, explaining if you've already explained this for other people. I've helped buy dozens and dozens of houses. I know how credit works. I know how that stuff works. So I totally get it. And I'm with you on the ethics of it and the why. I used to, my best tenants in property management were actually sober living recovery houses. And I worked with lots of them in the town I lived in. The opioid epidemic hit real hard and there was a lot of people in recovery. And one of the things I did personally in my own property management company was that if you graduated through one of the houses that I already managed, then I would waive your background check to get you into one of my rentals. And
that's pretty cool.
Even doing that,
that's pretty cool.
There's too many people. Got to hustle too hard to get that kind of fucking shit to get in a fucking house, though. That's the problem. People need access to housing.
There needs to be easier avenues to stuff exactly like that, and I commend you for providing that, because I've known several people in South Florida that have sort of worked in the same sector and done the same thing.
It broke me though. I mean, it's not what I do anymore. It was, I had people who I had to evict from their houses, not for anything they did.
It's exhausting work.
And the landlord wanted an extra $100 a month. And I had people move out of houses and into tents and campgrounds and vans. And I just, these millionaires, it's money's a game to them. It's just the bottom line on the spreadsheet.
It's a hustle for them. It's a different kind of hustle.
And I couldn't do it anymore. So that's one of the reasons we left Oregon and moved to Arizona. We just I kind of fell into the industry, and it grossed me out.
So Rickmon and I we became friends on Facebook through a random friend in a different state, and I got very, very lucky due to circumstances and COVID and everything lined up right, and I had to buy a house, and I'm remarkably calm here now, but I have anxiety disorder and stuff freaks me out, and I never would have been able to buy my fucking house if it wasn't for Rickmon, and that's how I know him and his wife, and then we've been friends on Facebook for a long time. Getting back to the group, we've been friends on Facebook for a long time. And, we just bonded over politics and punk rock, and we have very different points of view, but, it's.
I've been a member of the group
since before
the Business Insiders.
You've been in the group?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Oh, so you were in the group.
Oh, yeah.
Way back.
I'm not one of the founding members, but one of the first couple hundred. There was 150, 200 people in there when I did.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, you got.
Oh, look at that!
I'm like the bandwagon over here.
You stepped up though. You're doing admin. I got too much on my plate to admin another Facebook group.
Oh my God!
Well, you're running for Congress.
I am running for Congress, but that's worse than the two Facebook groups.
What sucks about being an admin is people like I said something about this before. It changes how you can interact in the group, because I can't help it. I gotta run my mouth. So but being an admin, people think you're some kind of authority.
No, and actually, there are two types of violations you can get with a Facebook group. You can get a Facebook violation of somebody's comments in the group, and then there's one that's even worse. That's the admin violation.
Right.
When the admin violates.
I instantly admin
Facebook
violated.
rules. Oh no, it's not just you, Cleary.
All right,
Dr.
who else?
Phillip
Who else?
Madison is the only other
Dr.
person that has an
Phil.
admin violation,
I couldn't
and they
even
put
afford.
those put the group in extreme jeopardy. So even though I rarely say anything to any of the other admins, I pretty much put my foot in both of their asses and told them, just
You
don't-
cannot
just
plug
don't
the
violate.
Unabomber these days.
I wish I could
exactly.
keep spreadsheets so I could compete with Dr. Phil.
Listen,
No,
what you guys can just do what I do, have a Smurf account and use that.
Yeah, see? For the admin, that way it doesn't get banned, and then you talk shit on your regular account, or the other way around.
I had to do one of
well, the
those
thing
when
is,
I
I
was
mean,
PTO president.
it's such a precarious thing. Like to operate on these platforms now is a kind of thing where like you can build and build and build a group, and then a few people complain to the right people.
And
it gets in front
That's
of the
part of
eyes,
what our group
and
does.
with a push of a button, it can
That's
all
part
just
of what our
disappear.
group does. Our group teaches people how to act right and how to like express their anger and tell people to fuck off without, like we're like, yeah, we're all angry. Everybody's upset. Everybody has righteous indignation. So people are like, it's learning how to communicate. I mean, a couple of things I learned from Rickmon, like Rickmon taught me the phrases toxic individualism and about sea lining, and so it's, there's a lot of like mutual aid education because there's a lot of, anarchist types in the group.
John, who's that with you?
This is Addison. You believe a guy as old as me could have one of these?
Oh, maybe. Hi, Addison.
Go ahead, John. Say something because we're on speaker
Say
view
hi.
now, so we can get a.
Say hi. Can you say Dada? Huh? She is 7 months old, and she doesn't want to work either. So that's
I was
pretty
just
cool.
gonna say.
Rickman's never been a dad before.
Did she join the group yet?
Oh,
She's the next admin.
Wow.
That was
Watch
also Rickman
She knows how to
confided
use a
in me
smartphone.
about being a dad.
You've been eating snacks? All right, back to Mama.
my eldest just
So-
started their first job, so.
Oh wow. So
What did
if
you-
I
I
could just
can hear that.
if I could just bookend.
Laura, you should talk to
sure.
Rickman. He'll help you, dude.
No, if I could just bookend what I was saying about core logic is
Yeah,
that not
sorry.
only no, it's okay. No, that was a cogent point. It was perfectly timed. But just to kind of finish my manifesto, see what I did there about core logic. Not only have they taken over the credit reporting process, they've also taken over the appraisal process.
Oh yeah, it's one big back.
Insurance is the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Insurance is the same way. Pretty much any type of
Any kind of insurance too. They know
any
so
type of
much about people.
database.
It's fucked up.
Mhm.
any type of database with any type of financial consideration. Car insurance.
Sure.
2 people, same car, same age, same driving record, go to get car insurance, and one person is $200 a month and the other person is $100 a month, and that's based on credit score. And before CoreLogic, insurance companies did not have legal permission to pull your credit score.
Why should they?
So that's
That's
why.
part of the Glass-Steagall, like all that stuff kind of happened when they repealed Glass-Steagall and all the economics of that. And I want to make a point too, is that I'm fucking tired of people fucking running their mouths without doing the homework and researching. Y'all got to step up your game.
That is why I did what I did. Like everyone was saying, no one wants.
Yeah, that
to
was awesome. By the way, I did hear your interview. That was that was way to go, man. That was a good experiment.
Like, everyone.
Well, it's not over, right? I mean, you're ramping it up now.
Part 2. Oh, we got part 2 going on.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about that, Joey?
Yeah, what's part 2?
So and this has been good, and the group has helped a lot with this too. I created a Google form with, I actually developed it using some conversations I had with Dominic Router that did the Business Insider article, and some of the economic professionals around the country that I was in contact with. That all these people reached out to me during this thing. And so I took pieces of all these conversations and all this knowledge that I was gathering just from being immersed in this, full time for the past, I lost track of time. There's a lot of it. What is it? November? So months. So I've been honing in what's going on with everything and seeing the patterns. And we got to this part where I created these questions, and it starts, and anyone can submit what they had a job searching experiment with. And it doesn't matter if it was online or in person, whatever, but if it took 3 months and you put in 250 applications, the way it's lined up, it takes about 5 minutes to fill it out, but it's given me a much better idea. So I have more submissions to that now than I initially put in applications. And some of these job searches are accounting for 7, 8 months, 9 months, anytime from 2010 until now. So it's a longer, broader picture of the problem, how it's existed, and some of the numbers that are coming out of it already is it's 0 to 10% response rate is 90% of what I'm hearing. So that means 90% of applications people put out there, just there's never even a peep we got it back. And that is, once again, the problem with these algorithms. And not to say that our lives cannot be infinitely improved by the use of these machines that we're communicating through right now, but we can't leave machines in charge of our lives, just like we can't leave out of touch people in charge of our lives. We have to interact with the humans around us and actually look at what's in front of our faces. And if someone says something that doesn't sit right, go find out about it. I don't trust anyone's word on anything insofar as the internet is concerned. If I want to talk to someone that I want to speak to about vaccine stuff, my friend is a immunovirologist. I go to him for that information. If I need to know something about my dog, I go to my friend who is a veterinarian. What I don't do is if I don't know something, I don't just pretend and make it up unless that's what I'm doing, because I play video games and stuff. Do whatever I want.
The internet's.
I bet you can't believe a guy as old as me has one of these.
The internet's demanding authenticity.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, how old is he?
He's 7.5.
Oh, wow.
He's trying to get away.
So, that's great. We talked about this, Joey, when you were on our main show, a few weeks ago. You talk about the role of algorithms and AI, sifting through applications and things like that. But what I found fascinating about your experiment is that it really uncovered a certain human element underneath all of that. And one of the reasons why people are having a hard time finding work and employers are reluctant to offer jobs has to do with, the theme of the roundtable here, which is the quote unquote, no one wants to work, right? You have a market, you have laws of supply and demand, you have labor, which ought to be valued at a certain place if adjusted, not just for inflation, but just simple moment to moment supply and demand trends. And you have a significant number of holdouts who are just not willing to pay what they need to pay in order to motivate the individual to make a human decision to actually sign the contract and take the job. And so
we've seen this happen.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just read yesterday, Pollo Tropical right here in Florida raised their wage across the board, and now they're going to offer this much. Now, everyone who's complaining about the minimum wage raising up, it's everything I've ever heard. If you give the bare minimum, you're going to get the bare minimum back, right? So if you're only offering people so little, well, of course they're going to show up and not want to do this job for you. But all of the employers who take care of their humans, who make sure that they don't have this rent insecurity, who make sure they don't have this health insecurity, and they know what they're getting when they go to work, and they feel like they're part of something, those people aren't losing employees. It's still for everywhere we're all talking about all this stuff where people aren't working, like the places where people are still going to work are the places that don't have these insecurities.
Humans like to work.
I'm actually dealing with exactly this personally right now. I am working with a staffing agency just to, like, so we're trying to buy a house, so we're trying to just get every last little cent of debt paid off and whatever. And I'm talking to these people, and they're like, well, what's your, minimum you're willing to work for? What's your salary range? I'm like, it has everything to do with how much of the job I get to leave at the office. Like,
this is another major thing.
Around and whatever, and then I clock out and I'm done. Then yeah, I'll take for less. But if I'm going to be answering emails and my boss is going to be calling me on weekends, then no, I want $20, $25 an hour, for that. But if it's, I'm willing to work for, 16, 17, 18, depending on the stress level of the job.
Well, look, I mean, there's always been, like, work-life balance has always been, if you read economic studies, like a major factor in employee satisfaction, in, job applicants, yes or no calls as to whether or not to take a job. But, what you have is a working class and even a middle class that's been squeezed so tight that all of these considerations, which have, like, for decades and decades and decades been, like, main deciding factors when we're talking about workplace satisfaction, retention and turnover rates, things like that. A lot of that has just gone by the wayside because for so many years now, people have had no choice but to take these jobs and stay in these jobs. And I think like what COVID has done is it gave everybody a sort of break where a lot of people had to leave work, and it allowed them to sort of reset and rethink so that when they go back to the workplace, now everything is sort of,
I don't want to do this
everything
anymore.
is reset. Right. And we don't want to go back to doing this anymore. Like the people who want to go back to normal tend to be the ownership class and the management class, right?
Yeah.
The people who normal means telling everyone under me to what they have to do and when they have to do it by, and I get to rake in a lot of the money from that.
The useless management job, the shitty management, shitty, whatever happened to the term shitty middle management?
You guys, I'm sure it's floated around on the page, but you guys have seen the meme where it's like everybody has to come back to work in the office, and all the employees are like, no, like work productivity's up, like we're all doing better from home. And the guy's like, well, yeah, but my job's meaningless if you don't come back and watch, me talking. You go to the bathroom, so you have.
I think a lot of it is an actual values shift in society that COVID made us actually realize the value of real human labor, and that's important, and also that all people deserve to fucking live and have health care and all that. But there's been a long time, coming with market shifts, and that, a lot of nursing, doctors, dentists, carpentry. I mean, we've been having a disruption in our labor force that's been coming for a long time. I have a lot of friends that are social workers that work in the labor field that I've known for, 20 years. We've been knowing that this is coming, and it's, but in converse, we're always, the lower class and the working class is always being sold on the shortages. There's a labor shortage. There's a trucker shortage. There's not a shortage of fucking anything. There's shortage. our system is completely piecemeal. It's nobody's complete fault. A lot of people have had too much power and have made bad decisions, but everything's piecemeal. And unfortunately, the system has favored people who've had power, and they have filtered everything up to themselves. But now, we have the internet, which is the great equalizer. And now people are fucking fed up because their quality of life has gotten so bad. Their quality of work has gotten so bad. And the fact of the matter is, people like to work. And that's why the group title is ironic, because, people like to work, and it's fucking healthy for us. And we all deserve access to work.
You guys know the Realignment podcast? It's kind of up the libertarian, the more right, center right, but millennial generation.
What is that? Sagar and the other guy?
Yep. Marshall and Sagar.
Right.
I know this Sagan.
they had a guest on, and I'm hit or miss on whether I agree with them or not. But they had a guest on who was like, we need capitalism because, without it, humans desire to work and whatever. They're just, when they get everything handed to them, they're unproductive. We're not insects. I was like, okay, all right. But if you look at the capitalist system the way it is, we definitely look a lot more like insects than the giant mammals that we actually are.
I think that brings up though capitalism versus a free market mentality. Like, I think that the free market is actually what's brought us all the change and this labor strike. And we were talking earlier about regulation. Like, we need to have strong regulation and a strong free market, but we also need universal basic everything so that everyone can have equal opportunity. There's enough fucking money and resources to provide that.
Right. No, I'm with you. But his point was that we needed. Can I finish this point? He was saying that we need the labor. You need the grind hustle. Sorry, it's really loud out here.
It sounds like you're Hitachi, girl.
Sounds like there's like a.
No, it's construction, and I'm gonna go back inside.
Sorry.
I was trying to be outside. It's just stuffy in my house. But his point was that humans need capitalism so that they have some drive to push them. And I was like, that's completely backwards.
Yeah,
like that drive is in us. We want to do that. And how much better off if we weren't spending all of our mental energy, focusing on the bare basics. Like, no, if we had our bare basics covered, then that inert drive that humans have to work and create and mutual aid, like you were talking about, how much better off will we be as a society? Like,
right.
we got to spend
people naturally want to do things. No one's going to sit around doing nothing. And the couple of
people love to create.
Want to do that. The people that really can't get out there because they're disabled or mental, whatever it is, then we provide them a place to go, still live their life happily, and leave those spots open in the workforce for people who can participate in that part of the workforce.
Even they have things to contribute. Just because they can't go out and work and stack behind a cash register, people that have disabilities that keep them from working in a capitalist society. There are great
access to opportunity.
It's like everybody has something they're drawn to and that they want to do. And there's so many people that there's enough of us, that there's enough people who are drawn to do everything it would take to make it work.
And people say maybe no one would want to clean the toilets, right? But here's the thing: working on boats as the first mate, like sometimes my job, I'd have my crew and I'm assigning my tasks, right? And
everybody says the grunt work. You just do it. Get over it.
I knew that
I've done clean plenty of fucking shitty toilets.
I could tear apart the head quicker and more efficiently than anyone else. So I just took that fucking job, did it, and put everyone else on what they were better at. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes you roll up your shirt sleeves, you pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and you do your job.
Yeah. I'm a Navy vet. I'm familiar with that particular thing.
Well, look, I mean, ultimately, sorry, Russell, go ahead.
Is not a fun thing to keep clean, but you share the grunt work. Everybody takes a turn, and you get through it, and then everybody works on what they want to work on.
We're being subject to a broad historical process. This really goes back to Aristotle's observation. I think that democracies end as oligarchies, because eventually capital accumulates in fewer and fewer hands, and they wind up controlling the political process. Now, I've talked about this with Keaton on the show a few times. Look, certainly not every group had the opportunities that I had coming out of college, and of course, America has a history of racial inequality. But when I first got out of school, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any contacts. I went out, I worked, I saved money. I opened a theater. Within a year and a half, I was able to open 3, and this is in New York City. That story is impossible today. It's impossible. So America, as I experienced it as in my 20s, not for every group, but certainly for me, I couldn't say capitalism doesn't work. I couldn't, here I am, a guy from the street, was able to save up money. I saved up that money doing manual labor. I drove a horse and carriage in Central Park. That was how I got that money.
I was about to say, hold on, you're not that old, but Central Park.
You mind if I ask what year that was?
Some people don't succeed.
What's that?
You know.
You mind if I ask what year that was?
This was the 90s.
Okay. My 90s experience was quite different. And this that actually the No One Wants to Work group has kind of made me reflect upon the 90s. I think I started working for $2.30 an hour in 1994 and got like 10-cent raises every now and then until I got $4.
What job did you have?
This was a seasonal labor thing, so they could get away with paying like that kind of wages. I think
wages.
Well, don't get me wrong. I went through that when I first got out of college. I mean, when I first got out, I worked for a Borders Books. I mean, forget about what the pay was there. So I had those jobs at first, but I was a hustler, and I had a good eye for the main chance. And I'm not saying that all the jobs paid. God, McDonald's grill guys were making wonderful money. I'm not saying that.
Well, no,
I'm saying there were opportunities in the economy if you wanted to hustle.
In the 90s, people working at McDonald's.
But today, I feel like even if you want to hustle.
Yeah,
well, there were opportunities. There were opportunities because a lot of people had a lot of disposable income. So, like Russell, you drove a horse and carriage to Central Park. There were a lot of people lining up to throw $100 bill at you to take them for a ride for a half an hour, right? And smell a few horse farts and send them on their way, right?
Oh yeah, the tourism industry in Key West. I was working on sailboats. Same thing, like $60-$70 for a 2-hour sail, and like I was making good tips and everything was good when it was good. It's a tourist town, but what happens in Key West is its fortunes rise and fall very quickly with the economy. And like it's been both the richest per capita and poorest per capita city in the country in the past at different points in history. Yeah, it's a microcosm. And I've
definitely seen over my lifetime just the imbalance between what the money people are able to make and what things cost, just in general. Has just gotten crazy. Like, look, I'm here in New York, and what service industry people make now that they're happy to make, it's the same money they were making in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think
it was back then. It was a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
they were making a lot of money.
You could do a 1-bedroom apartment on a minimum wage in 1994.
Not in New York, though.
I don't know about New York. In Texas, you could do a lot of places in Texas. You could do a minimum where you could survive.
Yeah. Texas, Madison.
I mean, look, I thought Angela made a really good point when she was talking about how this problem is both a creation of the free market and how the free market has also dug society out of this problem at certain points in the past. Because what that speaks to is the fact that, yes, certain people have done very, very well in our market system. And a lot of people have not done so well in our market system. And the irony of this is that this sort of quote unquote labor shortage, right? Or this sort of stalemate between employers who don't want to pay labor what it is worth and laborers who won't take a job for less than what they're worth. That is very much a function of the market. It's a function of the free market. It's everyone participating in the market. But the reason why the management class and the ownership class is crying foul at this is because they are not used to laborers actually participating in the market in a conscious way. Right? Like workers for many years, yes, they've been market actors, but they've not really been market actors because they had no decisions to make. When you're living that close to the wall and that close to the line, and you have to hustle and scrape and scrounge to make rent, you can't really participate as a market agent, as an autonomous market agent. But now they are. And so what this
that's what poor people are forced to find their own help, access their own help, and get their own help when they need extra help. And that's that fucking toxic individualism point of view.
Say that you get a choice, but work or starve isn't a choice.
Well, exactly.
I can't hear you, hon.
Exactly.
I can only see some people. So
look, your position. I mean, and look, this is what capitalism is. Capitalism is a system that privileges capital. The more capital you have, the more autonomy you have, the more options you have, the more choices you get to make. People with no capital have no autonomy. They don't get to make any choices. And because we've had a little reset now because of COVID, people without capital have a few more
Leverage.
decisions to make, partly because of the unemployment, partly because of the stimulus checks, partly because they've just had it to the point where they feel they have nothing left to lose and are willing to live with next to nothing before going back to a shitty job that's going to keep them in the same rut they've been in for the last 20, 30 years.
As a parent, like it's with the cost of childcare, leveraging if somebody works or somebody doesn't work. If you're in a certain income bracket, that's a really, really fine line. So I think that a lot of people who were able to have, you know, the two incomes and easier access to childcare before realize, hey, wait, I'm making the same. We're living the same with me staying home with the kids versus us paying for childcare. I think that's a big part of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course.
When it comes down to dollars and cents, because I am a parent and I pay attention to every penny on my grocery bill because we have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because
we've spent a lot of time today talking about.
Country.
No, right, and we
have a lack of education for everything in this country.
Yeah.
So
I paid more off for daycare than I did for rent when my kids were in daycare. My child, and it was only before and after school. They were in school, so it was before school and after school, and my daycare bill was more than my rent.
That was half of our experience. My wife had to work at the daycare for us to be able to afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
They worked her to death, and then they fired her because she got the date wrong on a form, and it was nonsense.
It's thankless.
And it's the
hard
investment
work.
companies have bought up all the daycares in the area, so it's not.
Well, that's the other thing is
say she didn't threaten to blow the place up, did she?
Privatized. Human services have been privatized.
This is it, man. You're always so worried we're going to get kicked offline.
Human services have been privatized, and education is being privatized right now with charter schools, and it's not working, and it leads to corruption. And so, you know, early childhood education is the most important thing that we can do to assure the health of our society. But like our priorities are messed up here, and we don't, you know, we don't put value on the right kinds of labor.
Yeah.
And most labor, all the important labor that women do, she's laughing because women's labor doesn't get paid.
Exactly. No, yeah. So I was when I got out of the military, my husband was deployed for most of our marriage, and I didn't work. I went to school and I did it mostly online, and I got 2 degrees, and I did that while raising newborns and toddlers. And then when we split and I was a single mom, I had no choice. My kids had to go to daycare.
So there is a solution to all of this. Everything we've talked about, there's a simple solution. I can explain it in 30 seconds, and I can pinpoint when capitalism stopped working. And before that, it was working, much to Russell's point. So the minute, so the minute that we broke the link between minimum wage increases and the consumer price index, that was the first problem. So my theory, and what I'd like to propose to the panel, is that not only do we relink the minimum wage increases to the consumer price index, I'll go you one further. Go ahead and link the minimum wage increase to the cost of living of housing, rentals, and home values, and mortgage payments and interest rates, and do that. And then moving forward, you're going to notice that everything will compress back to where it was in the 90s.
And why don't you ask for some crazy shit like asking people to have insurance on guns?
I want to add one more thing to it. And then we attach the tax rate on the billionaires. See, we'll think of the billionaires. We can attach that rate to that too. When they're making sure all those things are good, they then they get the tax breaks.
Yeah, right. Look, Joey, and this is really what I was getting to. None of this is going to happen at this point. If there's anything, I've been talking to people about this lately. I feel that the national impact of watching how this Build Back Better process played out or didn't it feels to me in my gut, like my sticking my finger in the political winds, it feels like a last straw. You showed people that change is not possible through the political process. That is that is the message that was just sent to people. What people got from that is no matter what you do, no matter who you elect, there's going to be a mansion, there's going to be a cinema. Vote in more Democrats, and now there will be 4 of them holding it up. Vote in more Democrats, and now there will be 6 of them holding it up. It won't matter
I'm a moderate
what you do. The system is too corrupt for these problems to be addressed without a total revamp of the system.
Yeah,
you need a revolution. You need to bring the system to a halt.
We need it to be efficient. We need an efficient system.
That's not going to happen without a revolution.
Efficient and the revolution is here, honey. I don't know where you are.
Well, it needs to go further. We need to go yellow vest on their.
We don't name revolutions till they're over, and it's been over for a while. White men need to give up positions of power. We need black people and people with adversity. We need people who have faced adversity getting in positions of power. That's the kind of societal change
we have plenty of those.
We don't have plenty of those. White men still hold a disproportionate amount of power.
Doesn't do anything for you to have a sociopath like Kamala Harris in the White House. Nothing.
You guys forgot. We've got the most important thing going on right now. We, the workers who don't want to work, are the ones holding the power at the place where it matters to us right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It needs to come from that level. Forget about these politicians.
All the power to all people.
That's
seize the means of production.
This is why, as the pragmatic anarchist, as you guys called me the last time, and I really like that. It says we are already in this spot. People are listening. We've got 15,000 people in a group watching. Some of them are watching this right now. Everyone's of the same mindset. We've got this workers' strikes going on, and the unions are striking for better stuff. And John Oliver did a special last night where he pointed out what the problem is with union busting, and he had some really good information in that I took in. And 10% of workers in the workforce are in unions. So 90% of people aren't receiving those protections because they've all been convinced that it's bad for them. And the companies are convincing it's bad for them. Now, when have the companies ever spent so much money convincing us that something's bad for us that was actually bad for us? They don't. They're trying to protect their means of cheap labor, which is us listening to their bullshit. So
filtering money upward.
We're done listening to their bullshit. So now we are, on the anti-work Reddit, they're banding together. We're banding together in the unions, and we're talking to people that bring up, like I personally in my daily life now have
giving people a voice
with my friends, and my friends that like they spout the corporate anti-union stuff. I'm like, but bro, look at me, your friend who's sitting next to you right now, and look at what's been happening with me and the people I'm talking to. And I'm like, does anything I'm saying sound like it's a bad idea to you? No. Well, I'm promoting that. I want you that makes $11 an hour at Arby's to get 15 for the bullshit they put you through. This is for you, my dude. Like, let's go.
A lot of that is the Fox News bullshit. I always keep an eye on right-wing media because as Taibbi,
that's why education matters.
Well, you've got to look at it because basically if you want to see the right investigated, go watch CNN. But if you want to see the left investigated, you have to go to the right.
That's not even investigation.
Because they're the only ones who will report it.
Actually.
But at the same time, they will conflate things. So I was watching their post-Virginia election coverage, and you've got Jeanine Pirro, who, she's just playing a character, that woman. I'm pretty convinced.
Fox News is the one way I went viral across the Fox network. Is my one major media appearance that actually went big besides the Business Insider. The video that went big was Fox 4 News, and it got like simulcast everywhere.
That's the local. But I was watching their national, and she goes on a rant about culture war things, and then slips in, and I think the viewers in general probably agree with those culture war stances. But then she slips in, we don't need your pro-union socialists. It's like they work in that corporate agenda within that culture war. I mean, that's in essence, that's the story of the Republican Party. Like that's the brand.
It's a war on
ever since Reagan fired the air traffic
authoritarianism and fascism.
This is a war on the culture of those who believe that they are part of the upper class when they are solely in the middle class in that little piece of the pie with us.
Or they want to rebel. Or the working class, not even in the middle class.
Like us and the guys that make $300,000 or $400,000 a year, they're on the same sliver of the pie as me and you, as compared to the Bezos and the Musk. Like, bro, you're just as broke as me, bro. I don't know who convinced you different, but they're doing a really good job of it.
Bezos and Musk are like the Howard Hughes of the day.
Except for,
I just thought of that today.
One less trip to space, and maybe it wouldn't help everyone, but it's a trip to space. Like, we got issues right here. He's like, let's build a space factory.
Well, look, I mean, the thing is, but this is why just the worker versus boss, employee versus manager, labor versus capital struggle is, in a sense, the only real political struggle there is right now, because it's the only struggle, it's the only negotiation that matters, because it's the only negotiation that's not filtered through all of the cultural stuff that you get when you go to vote for certain candidates or watch certain coverage of certain debates and things like that, right? This is just like a straight negotiation.
Equity,
the terms are very
if
clear.
There was equity, if I made the same amount of money when I went to work as you did, yeah, if there was equity for Black people, if there was equity, all the things you just said would be true.
Yeah.
We need. Yeah, I mean that's how we just we can go at each other's throats, and Bezos and Musk run away.
Well, no, we have to do all the things all
so
together.
Long, suckers.
But as long as sexism exists, racism will exist. As long as sexism exists, racism will exist.
I'm not saying those aren't issues, but they keep us at each other's throats so that we don't go after.
I agree with that.
And this is very important to me as the anarchist. And we talked last time about not the left to the right and everything. And it's also it's not. The only separation here is poverty, which is everyone below $1 million, and the people who are buying space. Like there's a very huge gap in between that, and everything at the bottom, every difference between us that they foster and they fan the flames for is a win for them that keeps us from looking. What's starting to happen with us, the no one wants to work movement, the anti-work movement, the my experiment. Now is we are looking at these things that are specifically right in front of us that are happening to us every day and saying this behavior. We start at the bottom. We start at the person-to-person behaviors, and the politicians at the top will eventually fall in line because we will work ourselves into the situation where they will have to serve us because we are the means of production and we aren't doing the thing for these people anymore if they're going to keep being fucking rude about it. Period.
I think we need to make sure we're empowering the people at the top. We need to empower the people at the top to do the job that the people want. The people need to be involved, and people aren't involved, and they're not educated, and they're headline readers. And our society wasn't built on being able to just have, our society is built on actually people being interactive, and they haven't been until now. And it hasn't really been possible until now because we haven't had the technology to give everybody that kind of voice.
Right. We need to focus more on human to human interactions and all of it though. Like that's where everything loses touch. Like when it comes to like me going to work for a person, like if I have to sit there and worry about how I'm going to pay my bill while I'm working for you, me and you are never going to have a comfortable relationship. And if we can't start there, then everything above that becomes a crumbling tower that we're seeing happen everywhere. So we have to, and this is something that I've throughout all this, and I finally got there. We rebuild from the bottom. Everything is built from the top of the pyramid down. Every corporation's pyramid scheme. We start at the bottom, us, the people who make things run, and we value what was the essential workers. While everyone else was stuck at home, the essential workers they talked about were the frontline nurses and fast food workers. And now nobody cares about all that anymore, and everyone's getting mad about dividing them instead of let's pay everyone enough money to go do the job that they can do.
People
I think
had
that was a
time
really
to
big
heal
part of
and
it.
learn.
I think
People
that was
had
a
time to
really,
heal and learn.
I mean, that was a really big part of it, was you had this worship of quote unquote essential workers that then kind of went away when everybody else started coming back to work. And now the essential workers were back to being unskilled workers, especially because that coincided with a battle over the minimum wage in Congress, right? So like just as things are started to open up, there was talk about getting a $15 minimum wage into the American Rescue Plan. And all of a sudden, once that minimum wage rhetoric started creeping in, you saw a transition from these, heroic essential workers becoming unskilled laborers. And I think that was part of what woke people up to this. And it's not a coincidence that your group started growing just a couple of months after that.
Right when this all starts. Yeah, because exactly. Now it's like, only teenagers should work at McDonald's. You weren't saying that last year when you were protecting your teenagers from the coronavirus.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You wouldn't stuff a teenager in behind that counter where that lady got hit in the face with the thing of soup, because that's how people act now. Like, and it's people have always acted like this, but there's this brazen boldness of people's attitudes.
More polarized. It's gotten more polarized.
People are pulling their phones out and calling people out on the shit more now too. And when bosses are doing the shitty things, those text messages, they're ending up on our site, and we're all like, yeah, don't be this guy. This guy.
Yeah. Because you'll be held accountable. You got to be authentic nowadays, and if you're a dick, you're going to be held accountable.
My criminal records come out. Oh no, like people are like, oh, you got arrested one time. I got arrested for weed a couple of times. There's a weed store literally where I got arrested the one time. Like, fuck you guys. That's next. That's gonna stop.
I don't trust anyone who's never taken a pinch.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to know what I've been arrested for.
I've
probably done more jail time than all you fuckers combined.
Yeah, John,
let me before I throw to John, because it is a little after 5, so we can pretend that we are all employed and we can wrap pretty soon. And
it's 4:20.
I don't know what do you mean it's 4:20? Where are you at? I thought you were in Florida. John, are you?
I'm in Florida. We're in the Panhandle, dude.
Oh, so you're Central Time out on the Panhandle?
Yeah, we're Central Time.
I didn't know that because I went to Western Michigan once for a few days. There was a film festival out there, and that is still Eastern Time, but it's way on the western edge of Eastern Time, and so it's like 9. It's like light out until 10 o'clock there in like early summer because it's way on the edge of the Eastern Time zone. But anyway, John, before we wrap, I want to throw to you so you can plug the group and tell everybody how to get in touch. After you make your last point, that's fine. And then we'll throw to Joey so you can plug all your stuff, because I know, Joey, you're adding projects every day. So let's get those in before we wrap. So, John, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Just like Dan Rather in the 2000 election, you didn't know we were in Central Time either, because it was our votes. It was our votes that threw the election to Bush, because we vote 70% Republican here. And
wonderful claim to fame you got there.
It's not great. It's not great.
We almost voted Gilliman.
And so I wanted to just disagree slightly with you, Keaton, when you said that this is the last bastion of kind of unfettered, uncluttered conflict, is the working class versus corporations, and that it's not necessarily political. And also to Joey's point about the fact that union workers are 10%, but the unions have been completely defanged, totally. Yeah. As an example, in the state of Florida, it's illegal for teachers to go on strike.
Yeah.
But there is a teachers union. There is a teachers union, but they can't go on strike. So it's like a neighborhood association for teachers. It's not really a union. And also look at the super PAC called ALEC that is boilerplating all of these. We're going to end the minimum wage. We're going to end the pandemic unemployment. And why was that Florida, Texas, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, because of super PAC called ALEC that boilerplated all of that.
A cock brother.
And so, and so I think my point is that to say that maybe it's somehow detached from our political process, I would vehemently disagree. I would say that the political process is what allows states like Florida to hoodwink people, stick all of the money that they got from the federal government into the general fund instead of dedicating it to unemployment, when they did, in fact, devote all of the Paycheck Protection Program money to businesses and corporations in Florida, but they yanked the money out from under the feet of the people on the very bottom end, and that is all politics.
Well, hold on. I didn't want to
struggle.
If I misspoke, I'm sorry if I put that in a confusing way. But no, my very point is that it is the only real politics going right now. Like politics with a capital P is not really political anymore, because politics is all culture.
Politics
all,
is
do you
the
think
business
Pete
of
Buttigieg
running
is a really smart
civilization.
guy who deserves to lead the free world someday? Or do you not think Pete Buttigieg is a really smart guy? It's like, do you admire this person's resume or that? That's all politics, quote unquote, is. This is real politics. So it's apolitical in the context of like what CNN or MSNBC would call politics. But in a historical sense, yes, this is the only real politics that there is. So anyway, I'm sorry if I didn't put that right. But anyway, John, can you?
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, can you just tell people how to get in touch with the group, and then we got to throw to Joey, because I know Joey's got a bunch of projects that I want to plug to.
Yeah, of course. If you just go to Facebook in the search bar at the top, no one wants to work, and answer all of the questions, please, or you will be deleted, blocked, and forever scorned. And join the group, interact. Please don't say bitch or cunt. And otherwise, come on in. The water is hot.
Yeah, and then also I've noticed that using second person to insult somebody triggers it somehow. If you insult them from the third or first person, it doesn't seem to trigger Facebook as much.
Oh, interesting.
Excellent.
Yeah, I got to think about that. You may be right about that.
So glorious later.
All right, Joey, you got merch going now. You got a podcast coming out now. You got some merch there that Angela just modeled for us there on John's feed. So, Joey, what's going on? You got, like I said, a podcast project up. You got some merch that you're selling now. You got an expanded experiment going. So get all that in.
So I got a couple of things. The merch, I didn't like where the merch was going. Some of it's coming out really good. I'm looking for an option that's a little less pricey than what I went with, which is going to probably be me pressing the shirts in my garage, which is fine. Keep it grassroots, you know. The second part of the project, if you go to mohawkjoey.com and you've got any job search from 2010 until now, that however long it took, you can, there's a way to put it down there and share your data with us, share the story, so that we have a better look at this problem that we specifically started highlighting here with the interactions with the algorithms. And that's going to help us with the next phases. And there's GoFundMe's. I'm starting the podcast next week, Pragmatic Anarchist, hopefully, as long as the computer gets here on time. And of course, I'll be staying in touch with these guys through the No One Wants to Work group. Admins in there. We're all, interacting with everyone on a daily basis to foster a sense of community, because we're all here in the same boat doing the same thing. And if we're going to organize and get to a better place for all of us to move forward, we all have to work together in this. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to promote in all this. I have not gotten any income from any of the, I've got a couple of people donated to a Patreon and a GoFundMe. Other than that, I've been putting like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week into this job, which, it's, nobody's paying me to do this. I'm literally here working for us all to get a better opportunity. And the more of us that work together on that, and our time, as little or as much time as you can give towards speaking about ways we can fix these things, it's like there are solutions. And instead of sitting around saying why things don't work, we can work towards things being different. And as long as we're making some kind of progress there, then we as humanity can move forward. But as long as we're separating ourselves from each other, not taking care of basic things like food, shelter, and healthcare, then we're not going to get anywhere.
Absolutely. Amen. All right, we're going to do a Facebook goodbye. So this is where we sign off to the people on Facebook, but everybody stay on the line, because when we go off the stream, we got to, smoke our cigars and count our money, right? So we're going to do our Facebook goodbye. So Phillip Madison, thank you for joining. Of course, Joey Holz.
Thank you for having me.
Christina Rickmon and John Rickmon. Angela Lee Cleary. And of course, our special guest here, Lara Hodge. Thank you for joining as well. Everybody, thank you very much. You can support our podcast at patreon.com/do dissidents, where you can support our project for as little as $5 a month. You get bonus videos and bonus podcasts every month, and call-in access to these shows. That's how Lara was able to call in. We got a little pay-to-play operation going here, but Lara is one of our patrons, and we love you for that, Lara. So thank you so much. Thank you guys all for joining. I want to thank the admins from No One Wants to Work. Thank Joey Holtz from the Joey Holtz Experiment. Check out No One Wants to Work group on Facebook, and of course mohawkjoey.com for all of Joey's projects. Thank you all very much for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. Be safe, be well. We'll see you next time.